Aboard the tow tractor, Jesse headed toward Bay 8 and noticed 15 meters away a man in white flanked by 2 soldiers in the middle of the bridge stair. In the next instant, he saw another soldier pointing a gun at the nape of the man in white and firing a shot. The man in white lurched forward onto the tarmac as his escorts and the gunman ran away. At this precise moment, Barcelona saw the man with whom Colonel Abadilla had been conversing earlier about to fall near the man in white. Beside him was a soldier holding a gun. Further corroborating testimony was provided by Olivia Reyes Antimano of the Lanting Security and Watchman Agency. These eyewitness accounts dismantled the military fiction that a man in blue, later identified as Rolando Galman, had darted from behind the metal stairway, breached the security cordon, and shot Senator Aquino at the tarmac with a .357 Magnum revolver. When one of the escorts, Sergeant de Mesa, supposedly caused Galman to drop his weapon, it was then that an AVSECOM soldier emerged from the van and shot Galman. However, by sequencing 150 photographs taken that day at the tarmac, the Agrava Board, in its majority report, was able to conclude that the military's version of events was clearly and definitely a concocted, confabulated story, and that Rolando Galman was not the assassin of Senator Aquino.
The photochronology, as assembled and constituted, was a very accurate, very reliable guide in the assessment and analysis of the rest of the evidence. Because those photographs certainly did not lie.
Which leads you to the inevitable conclusion that it was a military conspiracy.
The single most important piece of evidence based on the autopsy of the slain senator's body lent credence to the accounts that the fatal shot had been fired at the stairway where only soldiers could have been.
The most important evidence is the evidence depicting the trajectory of the bullet when it hit the head of Senator Aquino. The trajectory was forward, downward, medially.
It could have been very awkward for somebody on the ground to shoot another person, raising his arm and aiming his gun in a very awkward fashion like this and try to hit this part of the skull. So I could not connect somebody from the ground shooting Aquino.
And so where the trajectory was downward, it only means that the assailant was above the victim.
In addition, Japanese sound expert Dr. Matsumi Suzuki testified that the sound of the first gunshot heard on the service stairs was closer to that of a .45 caliber pistol.
.357 bullet could have shattered the whole head.
Digging into the background of Rolando Galman, the supposed communist hired hitman, it became even more apparent that the whole plot had been, at the very least, a military conspiracy.
Well, there was no evidence to link Galman as a communist. And of course, said the evidence did not show that he was the gunner. Ang tagal ng panahon, si Rolando Galman, later on, yung iba nalaman ko, siya pala yung talagang hold-upper diyan sa gun forehead diyan sa Nueva Ecija. Pero nung pinakilala sa akin ni General Custodio, sabi niya, Ito, sabi niya, talagang si Jun, sabi niya, itong kasama mo.
A 33-year-old ex-convict from Bagong Silang, San Miguel, Bulacan, Galman had been jailed for armed robbery and other crimes, but after his release had been employed as a military asset.
Ang tatay ko kasi mga kaibigan niya, military. So, yun ang naano niya sa akin. There's a reason why na meron siyang mga baril.
The records of the Agrava Fact-Finding Commission showed that Air Force Colonel Arturo Custodio and businessman Hermilo Goswico picked up Galman from his house on August 17, 1983.
Usual na mga pangyayari yung mga ganon, na darating sila, isasama nila ang father ko. So, hindi na ano sa amin, hindi na bago. Si Colonel Custodio kasi, alam ko na friend siya ng tatay ko. Kapag may mga occasion sa place niya, pupunta kami. Ganun. Kapag sa amin may mga occasion, sila naman na pupunta.
In its majority report, the Agrava Fact-Finding Board again clearly stated that Colonel Custodio is the link between Galman and the AFSECOM. The AFSECOM's involvement in the plot was further corroborated in 1995 by Master Sergeant Pablo Martinez, when he revealed that he was tasked by Colonel Romeo Ochoco, then AFSECOM Deputy Commander, retired General Romeo Gatan of the Constabulary, and Goswico to escort Galman from a hotel near the airport to the tarmac to await the arrival of Ninoy from Taipei. According to Martinez, he and Galman were briefed on the assassination plot by Gatan, Ochoco, and Goswico at the Carlston Hotel on August 20, 1983. It was on this occasion that Ochoco gave Galman a .357 Magnum revolver. Martinez said that two of these three men were associated with businessman Danding Cojuangco.
But there was evidence really that Galman was held incommunicado at the Carlston Hotel together with his girlfriend.
Martinez added that in the morning of August 21, two female friends of Galman, Ana Oliva and her sister Catherine, joined them for breakfast at the hotel. Several days after the assassination, the two women were reported missing. Their remains were exhumed from a sugarcane field in Capas, Tarlac in 1988. Similarly, Galman's wife, Lina Lazaro, disappeared after she was abducted from her house on January 29, 1984.
Taken together, the bits and pieces of evidence and sworn testimonies overwhelmingly confirm the connivance and control of elements of the military in the plot to kill Ninoy Aquino. The question is, did ultimate culpability rest in the hands of a few generals and colonels, and at most with General Ver? Or must the guilt be traced higher up the chain of command?
Just 2 or 3 people in Malacanang knew of the real plot.
One of the most hotly debated points in connection with the Aquino assassination was the state of health of Ferdinand Marcos. It was widely believed that he was sick, but nobody was certain what he was afflicted with. His physicians and inner circle were tight-lipped about his physical condition.
The public only got a clue that something was amiss when the palace issued an odd statement that the president would be on hiatus to write a book days before the scheduled arrival of Ninoy Aquino. As it turned out, his body had rejected a transplanted kidney and needed a new one.
Patient who is an acute rejection could very well die anytime. However, with the kind of care that the president was having then it could very well be, in quotation mark, avoided. But certainly it is a life-threatening event.
Under these circumstances, the critical question was whether or not his mind was lucid enough and his body was healthy enough to continue running the show at Malacanang.
People who suffer from end-stage renal failure, their thinking would be affected by the toxins. Those that your body can no longer process, those toxins that only dialysis can remove, and sometimes not even very thoroughly.
Was he still in command, or did a sense of uncertainty and desperation threaten to cloud his judgment? Or was it an inner clique that, out of self-preservation, felt compelled to make decisions on his behalf?
When it came to controlling the military power, Marcos never allowed anybody to have a hold on that. Not Ponce Enrile, not Danding Coangco, not Imelda Marcos. No.